This is Friday, October 24th, 2025, and it's 10:28 a.m. It's a Friday today. I really got to find out what I'm going to do about some scaffolding. Or I was thinking about just making hoists and using ropes and boards. But anyway, look, okay, this is a telling moment and very important for, I feel, for my journal entry, because for my notes in my journal, because it really shows the kind of, you might even call it like a trap, a kind of trap that we're in. Because if you look at the big play and the players, then you can kind of understand what the dynamics are, and then you can use those dynamics and group that kind of whole scenario into what you call a play. Now, on a kind of a social understanding kind of level, you can understand like the big group dynamics and the dynamics that actually work on the little people, and then the dynamics in the big groups. And you can understand that if you take a look at it at the social, from a social perspective. And last time I was talking about filters, and it's a filter. You filter the information out and you deduce it, and then you characterize it, and that's how you group it. But you always got to look at the primary sources, and you can't be duped. And this is why I really wanted to make this point up, because if you look back, see, the difference in today is that today we got the receipts. Back then, like if you go back to, like I don't know if you ever watched like a Western movie or something, but they used to have Western TV shows on all the time when I was a kid, because we weren't really that far away from it. And you counted on a person's word, And the sheriff in town was supposed to be like a good guy. and truth was, like people depended on truth, and each other's word, because they didn't have like, TV live action, seeing it live and everything like that being broadcast, so you actually know what's going on. And hearing news reports and all that. I mean, they got their news in maybe like a week after the massacre or something. I don't know. Just depends how the mail could flow, how the news could flow. Now we got the receipts. So look, and so we can kind of know, but the thing is, you can be tricked, because people put out fake receipts. They have fake news, disinformation. Fox News does it all the time. And they even try to hypnotize people with a certain kind of perspective. Okay, like look, if you listen to someone like Ezra Klein, he's like really, like, he can go a lot of places in his mind, take a lot of perspectives and expose what the true realities are. And when you look at the true realities, you understand, well, you could see it from this perspective if you were in this kind of, coming from this kind of situation, and then that would, justify it. And like both sides are justified because they both have the same motivations. It's just their motivations might be different. Seeing the same thing, looking at it from a different perspective. But, so there's different perspectives, okay? But there's some perspectives that are like the people that characterize those perspectives, with a certain kind of group of people, known as assholes. And Donald Trump falls in that group of people called assholes. And that's because assholes have a certain kind of characteristic of just doing stuff to disregard of other people. And, what was I say? It seems like Donald Trump doesn't care about his family. Okay, like if you were to look at, okay, and this is why I wanted to bring out, okay, because, now Trump, as of today, I heard, now he's saying to Canada, no more, one person, right, because he got pissed off because Canada put out a commercial saying that tariffs were no good, and our president, Ronald Reagan, who I was a young boy when he got shot in the arm, and I was over at Cecil Medina's house. His dad was Colonel Medina from the My Lai, and I don't want to say, but look, man, it's a big story in history, and it has no kind of disparagingly kind of comment or nothing like that. In fact, I hesitant, like I wouldn't want to say it. I don't want anybody to think it's like a bad thing. This is my tender thing. When I was a child, Cecil explained to my mom about Lieutenant Kelly, about his dad, about the massacre. It was important to him. And I read something that I think he wrote about that when I looked it up a long time ago, thinking back about my childhood and everything. And I looked it up, and I thought I read something that he said. And I'm sure it was him. Because I don't think his brother Greg would have said anything like that. I knew Cecil. He was my friend. And I could tell what he would say. Okay, well, but I was thinking about Ronald Reagan. I was over at Cecil's house when I heard about Ronald Reagan getting shot. Anyway, okay, look, I'm not going into a lot of political stuff right now, but he said, I say Donald Trump is like a person who who don't even care about his family, and that constitutes him as being an asshole. And because you can group it that way according to those characteristics. If you don't care about your family, then that you fall into the group of being an asshole. Okay, and so he just unilaterally says no more trade negotiations or something like that. It's just cutting everything. It's like saying end of conversation, okay, to Canada. And well, that affects Canada is our closest neighbor, okay, and he's being an asshole by putting tariffs on Canada. Also, it also constitutes him being an asshole. Because if Canada is our family, I mean, we're right next door. We're right next to them, okay? And a lot of Americans like to go to Canada, and Canadians come to America. Happens all the time. We're neighbors. I used to live in the Upper Peninsula. It's closer. I had a teacher who he showed us pictures of him canoeing in Canada. I don't know if he actually came from Canada or not. But he's my teacher. And so I'm just going to play this little bit about the Honorable Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario. That must be like the mayor or something, or a governor or something. But thing that he is addressing is they made a commercial where Ronald Reagan was saying, no, tariffs ain't good for nobody, and they're not, because that's all the government is just taking money, and Republicans are supposed to be for, like the government not taking your money, but they're always for the government, if there is any money taken, and giving it to the rich people. Okay, because the rich people are the ones who are in power. The rich people are the ones who own everything. And that's why one thing Trump is trying to do is devalue and depreciate, America, so that rich cats can buy up America and own America, more people. I mean, own more people. I mean, that's the way it is. And this is what rich people do. You can't see that. Then you got the blinders on. You got to take them off. You can't get through the maze with blinders on. But anyway, Ronald Reagan said no. He said no, tariffs were no good, because he was like a true Republican. Today they have evolved into more like ravenous beasts, hungry for power and property and tax money. Because big interests empower the Republican Party now. Big interests. Some big interests, empower the Democrat Party too, but there's more bigger interests because it's like, not relic, but it's more than remnants from the past. And we still got our roots in the past. So, but the faster we evolve, the better off. China's evolving fast. We're evolving. Now we got like hit in the head and we're stupefied. But, where'd my thing go? But, I don't see my remote, but I was going to play. Hang on one second. All right.
For yourself, let's take Ronald Reagan's words and let's blast it to the American people. And our first launch is going to be on every major network. Maybe one may not get it, and we'll talk about that at a later date. No, it's actually CNN, to be honest with you. They're a little nervous, but Fox and other people, but we're going to launch a $75 million ad, and we're going to repeat that message to every Republican district there is, right across the entire country. And we're just gonna speak the truth. But that ad, it's not a nasty ad. It's actually just very factual, and coming from a person like Ronald Reagan, every Republican is going to identify that voice. Maybe the younger Republicans can't remember, but he was just the best president the country's ever seen, in my opinion. In fact, factory employment in America is at the lowest level it's been in 5 years. This next one is staggering. The Center for Automotive Research in the U.S. says that President Trump's tariffs on autos will raise the costs for American automakers by nearly $108 billion US in 2025. These kinds of enormous costs on businesses result in two outcomes: higher prices for American consumers and fewer jobs for American workers, and inflation on the backs of American workers.
And just to show you quickly here, like that Reagan Presidential Library, they're like reposting Eric Trump and Elon Musk. Eric Trump.
Okay, so that was the response of our closest neighbor, Canada. And see, what it is for me is that the government taxes out of everything that we buy or sell. Okay, if it can't be bartered, if it's got to be registered, like a car, motorcycle, anything, Okay, well, there's a receipt of sale, and you pay taxes on it too. You know, part of the taxes for administrative upkeeping or whatever, you know, to support the whole, you know, government complex. But the other part, you know, goes to other things. And look, man, we spend a lot of money on a lot of other things. So obviously we got a lot of tax money coming in. I mean, we give like other country like Argentina now, like, you know, $40 billion. Something, yeah, $40 billion. But yeah, you know, look, I say Trump don't care about his family because it gives Argentina $20 billion, because that goes back to the hedge fund people. See, America's rich people made investments over there, and then they lost their money, and so they're donating the $40 billion to bail, because it didn't go back into the hedge fund managers. Okay? And it's going to help maybe them Argentina out a little bit too, and then we can say that we helped them. You know, there's other layers of, you know, beneficiality, but mostly it's they wouldn't do it if it affected rich people. It's to bail the rich people out, because they don't want to lose all that money that they invested over there. See, the rich people control the world. You can't really argue against that, because this is the way it's built up to this. That's why it takes a person like Bernie Sanders being elected as president and about 10 more Bernie Sanders after him to actually reduce the problem. That's an over-exaggeration, but it's true. It take at least 3. When I'm taking it, it's going to take at least like 20 years. That would be a miracle. That would be a miracle. I don't really see it happening that way. But we got to try like hell to make it, you know, because it's just like you know, Bernie says. I mean, it's atrocious, you know, for 1% of the United States population. Okay, 1% to like have like, you know, 93% of all the wealth, and that's how they figure it out. Of all the wealth, they own everything. They make money off everything. That's only 1% of the population of the United States of America. And if you look at the Declaration of Independence, tariffs, this taxation upon the American people should benefit the American people. It's coming from the American people. It should benefit the American people in some way. And obviously, we got a lot of money to throw around. That's why they say, you know, some people say America is like the wealthiest nation. It's kind of hard to believe now. China seems pretty wealthy to me. That's what it used to be. And that's when we brought in immigrants, because America was made from immigrants, people trying to work hard. But no, they want to limit it to not people who are trying to work hard, but people of a certain class and look and orientation. But more on the asshole kind of syndrome. You know, not only not caring about your own family, and Trump is not considering Canada like part of our family. And it's like we're blood brothers, we're next door neighbors. And so now, one person, I'm saying, you know, making a decision for the whole country. That's astounding. Saying basically, you know, like saying end the discussion with Canada. And they're even trying to say that Canada making that ad is illegal. because it's a clip from, copyrighted or something. I don't know. Ronald Reagan. Well, it shouldn't be. But they're trying to say that it is. That's why that copyrighted stuff is a bunch of bullshit. But people want to control the information. And they want to make the information like value, like you got to pay for it. Anyway, that's it. I think that's a substantial kind of journal entry for my notes today, because so I can remember this as the day that it was really shown, exposed to me through one set of behaviors and the social consideration of what Canada has done in response to the tariffs, and what America, through the auspices of Donald Trump, has done to America. They're making America, but see, Canada knows it's not really the people of America, it's Donald Trump. So I'm saying, let him be an example. You, my grandchildren, like if you're looking at this, from the past, from the future of mine, and it's your past, then this moment in time right here is very, very telling. And right now we are at the crossroads, because this cannot go on. Okay. Otherwise, one person is going to destroy America completely. It's going to depreciate everything. Rich people are going to buy everything up. The working class is going to become the poor class, and AI and robots will be doing everything. And there's only going to be a few people enjoying this planet, and everybody else is going to be suffering. It could go that way. Look, you watch movies and stuff like that, of like the future kind of thing, like they think about how America could be destroyed and everything like that. Like I just watched the Book of Eli recently. They're like that, They show the bridges and everything all crumbled up and blew up and everything. People are driving around with all the gas that they siphoned out of the cars with dead people. Well, believe me, that could be true, and that could happen. It could happen as quickly as getting hit by a car. And recently Donald Trump, has done a lot of outrageous and atrocious things, and passing this big beautiful bill, he called it, big beautiful bill that transfers more wealth to the rich people through the process of taxation and taxation relief. So the rich people don't have to pay as much taxes as the working class, and they keep it balanced that way. It's the working class, it's a privilege for them to be ruled by a man like Donald Trump. Which is a bunch of bullshit. But the thing is, it's sleight of hand and everything, and they try to trick the people, like making the big beautiful bill like a good thing, and people don't even know shit from apple butter about it. They just follow along because they like the TV personality. And they listen to programs like Fox, which isn't even news, but because they've already been sued for propaganda about the whole January 6th insurrection, which actually was an insurrection against the White House. People even died. And a lot of people got injured and threatened, and could have turned even worse. But they didn't Trump caused it. He didn't bring in the National Guard. He caused it. And now he's president again, and he's causing it again. And he don't care about his family. He don't care about America. He cares about himself. And you got to understand, it's a big difference, okay? If you couldn't even ever go there, like, mentally, like, okay, if you're not like a sociopath, then you would have a really hard time trying to live inside the head of a sociopath. You couldn't figure it out because it'd be so foreign to you. Well, you might be able to. Like, that's what makes good actors, you know, they can at least play the part. But Fox News is basically, I was going to say, a bunch of actors, and they're acting for money. I mean, they're in it for money. They get paid a lot of money. They're like billionaires. That's why they have such a. It's fun for them. They're like magicians. And if you're too stupid, you know, that you don't know any better, then oh well. And that doesn't, you know, go. That's not rubbing, you know, the hair across grain, like, you know, like sometimes, you know, dogs, if you push the hair opposite of the way that it falls, you know, they don't like it. They don't like it as much as they go with the flow. And you know, that's where we're at today. But you know, Trump definitely don't want to go with the flow, you know. But you can look at things from a lot of different angles and perspectives, and that's what makes competition, you know, good. There's good. There can be good competition. Competition is not bad. That's why it's good to have philosophy of competition. Like if you go more of the Eastern stuff, you know, they have better competition philosophy, because in the Western, like America's mindset, a lot of people just want to, like, you know, like, they don't want to shake hands afterward. Like winning and losing is a bigger kind of thing. It's like winning. And if you don't win, you start to hate. It's a different mindset. It's a different mindset than see, you know, there's one set of exercises where you can, I don't know, I remember what it's called, but like if you go like this and you pull one muscle against the other muscle, okay, then that's a form of an exercise. Like you can pull one muscle against the other muscle, and you do that, and there's different exercises like that. And it's by pulling one of your own muscles against the other. Okay, well, you can do that in society too, and that's a good way to exercise. Okay, and if you do it in society, it makes you more one body strong. Okay, but if you don't do that, you know, and you're pushing like an object, something away from you, then you might be like fighting that object, you know, and you don't understand that you don't have to take it personally. Okay, in the competition, you ain't got to take it personally. If you're one body, and you got to understand that different set of values and motivations and acceptances and boundaries and frameworks of working together. Yeah. Okay, that's what I'm going to call this one here. The framework. Like, I've been working, like, I got the framework going on. In fact, I'm going to go out there and do a little bit more. I'm building more framework for my sign, you know, and my climbing wall. And I'm understanding the framework in our, what do you call our socioeconomic niche of society. So a sociological study or consideration. The socioeconomic one. And economic has to do with, you know, taxation and tariffs and stuff like that. and our next door neighbor's response. And this is the framework that I'm looking at it from, you know. It's a sociological one. And it's economic one. It's socio-economic. And when I went to see my my uncle Ron in I think Peking, Illinois, one time trying to get to see my cousin's wedding. Well, first thing he asked me is, what do you think about Reaganomics? Okay, well, this guy here, he's put out a commercial using Reagan saying tariffs are no good because he was an old-time Republican. Okay? He said tariffs are no good. And then the guy gives a bunch of reasons why. And they're no good for working class and for the people of America who Reagan represented. And it don't seem that way anymore. The times have changed because Trump is a greedy bastard. He's an asshole. I'm just saying. Times have changed, and we're in a different framework now, and we got to fight like hell to get out of it. See, that's why I say we're at the crossroads, because things will go really, really bad having a guy like him in office. He is like they call a malignant narcissist coming from Eric Fromm, who escaped the Nazi prison camps, and he studied like Hitler. Okay. And as he said, Hitler was a malignant narcissist, and Donald Trump has the same characteristics and features based upon the observation of these past 8 years by professionals. And they have informed, and they did their homework, and they presented the studies to the American people, and I've seen them, and that's how I know. And they make a point of saying, like, Germany changed Nazi in a real short period of time. And it could happen. And plus he's got a little dementia, and so it's not even really him anymore. He can't even remember stuff. He's just like a puppet now. Saying it's just stuff that he makes up, but nobody cares. He could be saying the complete asinine stuff, you know, like proving that he don't even know one thing about math or anything. Like saying drug prices are going to come down like 1,500%. Yeah, if it comes down 1,500%, that means they're giving the stuff away. You don't even understand what you're talking about. It's stupid stuff. He says he's got like $20 trillion on the tariff shelf. And he's trying to say that that's something like a good thing. America don't even make that much money per year. That's why he's crazy, man. Well, I'm not sure what kind of point I was really driving at on this one, but I'm just, thinking that it's a telling moment of him now Trump now going after Canada, and Canada saying, look at Ronald Reagan and Trump saying it is illegal for them to even send the message to America. And so it's illegal for them to even send that kind of message to America. And as a result of them doing that, I think he called it egregious behavior or something like that. We're cutting off all communication and I think trade. But it's closed conversation with Canada. Some people think that he wants to make Canada become part of America by force. Anyway, that makes me so disappointed. I'm going to end my talk right here. He's going to call this one Canada by force, because some people actually think that he's trying to subjugate Canada, like just like the king tried to subjugate the colonies in America when they declared their independence. It's a really bad time we're in. I'm serious. Because I think he's gonna die. But there's a group of people that, you know, they're like that, and you always have to remember that there are legitimate assholes by characteristic and observed behavior. Like if you don't care about your family, you're an asshole. And making these kind of tariffs and everything, he's an asshole. Because that's like taxing your own family. He's taxing us. Trying to make it look like he's blocking off America, killing trade, and he's depreciating and making our values smaller and ruining us. And then the people with all the money are going to come in and swoop everything up and take more control. That's different than this kind of thing. I don't remember what the name of that kind of exercise was. I'm thinking like kinetics, but I'm not sure. I just call this one kinetics. All right, bye.